You're already feeling uncomfortable. You wouldn't be listening to this episode if your life was, feeling super aligned and fulfilling. My guess is you're feeling a bit stuck. Maybe you're feeling lost. While our mind thinks that it's protecting us and keeping us safe, it's actually just keeping us from living our life fully. What if we fail? What if it's not as good as the thing in our comfort zone? What if I told you discomfort is actually a really good sign? And that if there's discomfort in your life right now, then that's a good thing. It's an opportunity. And here's why. What people regret the most at the end of their life isn't the things that they went for that didn't go their way, but it's the things that they never went for, the things that they never said, the discomfort that they felt too scared to lean into. So the question isn't, do we want to live a life that's comfortable or uncomfortable? The question is, what kind of discomfort feels worse? I used to see discomfort as a stop sign. If something felt uncomfortable, I saw it as something to avoid. And avoiding this discomfort is exactly what kept me in a life that feels misaligned. So today, I am going to talk about how to transform our relationship with discomfort, because discomfort isn't a stop sign. Discomfort is actually the exact thing to lean into. By avoiding discomfort and staying in our quote comfort zone, it is actually the riskiest thing we can do. And I'm going to share with you exactly why. But the tricky thing is, our mind is always avoiding the uncomfortable because it's flagging that discomfort as something that's dangerous. But what it's not seeing is that by avoiding this discomfort, we are giving it power over us. By avoiding the thing that feels uncomfortable and outside of our comfort zone, we're allowing that thing to keep us in this box that we live our life in, because stepping outside of that box feels uncomfortable. But the longer we avoid that discomfort, the more power we are giving to it. Yeah, it might be keeping us in a life that feels comfortable, but if you're listening to this episode, that comfortable life might not feel fulfilling. A comfortable life and a fulfilling life are not the same thing. And a fulfilling life comes from leaning into the scary thing, leaning into the uncomfortable. Today, we're going to transform our relationship with discomfort. Let's talk about why our comfort zone feels so safe and why our brain does everything it can in its power to keep us there. But then more importantly, why we should lean into discomfort. I'm going to share with you some powerful personal examples that I know so many of you are going to be able to resonate with. And then finally, get to the discomfort challenge. This little challenge that I've created to help you lean into discomfort, to truly transform your relationship with it, but more importantly, to set yourself free from feeling stuck, from feeling lost. Because if you're a human being, we avoid what's uncomfortable, but everything we want is on the other side of this discomfort. And that discomfort might actually be pointing us towards the exact things that we want in life. Because the very thing that is keeping so many of us feeling lost or stuck, what's really happening is we're avoiding the thing that feels uncomfortable and scary. So to feel unstuck, we have to lean into that discomfort. And I'm going to really dive into all of this in just 1 second here. But before I do, if you are new here, welcome to Fulfilled. I'm so grateful that this show found you and that this message found you. If it did, don't forget to press follow or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching the show. This will give you access to episodes every single Monday and Thursday when they are released, so that you never miss an episode, to inspire you in living this life fully and creating a life truly authentic and aligned with you. And if you are returning, thank you as always for clicking on this episode and taking this time and space for you today. 2 quick things that you can do to send me and Fulfilled some love is to leave a rating and review or comment wherever you are listening or watching the show, on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. And additionally, send this episode or maybe the show to someone in your life who you love, someone who might really need to hear this specific message or who might just resonate with Fulfilled. Both of these are 2 easy and quick ways that you can help support the show. And I feel so grateful that you're all tuning in and for your continued love and support. So let's dive in. Like I just shared, we cling to what feels comfortable because our mind loves that certainty. Our mind loves staying in that box of what we know and what we can predict. The things that feel uncomfortable feel that way because of the uncertainty, because we don't know, what those people are going to think of us or what's going to happen. Like, what if we fail? What if it's not as good as the thing in our comfort zone? Our mind thinks that it's protecting us. But the bigger thing happening here that we might not recognize is it's actually just preventing us from living this life fully and from experiencing new things. Life isn't here to play it safe. We're not put here to just stay in this box that we know and never step outside of it. If you ask me, we're here to grow and to experience new things in life and to lean into this life fully and learn along the way. And that looks messy. That's not perfect. And that's surely not certain. So while our mind thinks that it's protecting us and keeping us safe, it's actually just keeping us from living our life fully. Like I just shared previously, a comfortable life and a fulfilling life are not the same thing. And if you are listening to this show, then my guess is you're ready to step outside of your comfort zone. So let's talk about how to do that. Let's talk about why we should do the uncomfortable thing. Why in leaning into discomfort, it sets us free in so many ways. Because we need to understand that it's safe to do that in order to actually take those steps to then transform our relationship with the uncomfortable thing, that thing that feels so scary to take steps towards. So first point I want to make here is you're already feeling uncomfortable. You wouldn't be listening to this episode if your life was, feeling super aligned and fulfilling and like it's constantly exciting. My guess is you're feeling a bit stuck. Or maybe you're stuck in this misalignment. Maybe you're feeling lost. So the interesting thing is our mind thinks it's keeping us safe by keeping us in our box in our current circumstance, but we're uncomfortable because we're also craving more. Our comfort zone clearly isn't doing it for us. Otherwise, again, you probably wouldn't be listening to this episode. So this is one of the main points I want to drive home today. And the really ironic thing about avoiding discomfort. Yes, it feels uncomfortable to take steps into the unknown, but doesn't it also feel uncomfortable to stay exactly where you are? Isn't your comfort zone causing you to feel discomfort in your life right now? This came up in a client session that I had the other day. Essentially, there was so much fear with this client stepping into the unknown and what he really wants because it feels really uncomfortable. But there's also so much discomfort in staying stuck where he is. And he is feeling really stuck. He's feeling stuck in these cycles and unfulfilled where he is. And so it's like there's fear on both sides. There's fear where he is right now, but there's also fear in stepping into the unknown. But here's the difference. In staying where we are now, we're keeping ourselves stuck in this current discomfort, in this current maybe lack of satisfaction in your circumstance and in your life. But in leaning into the scary thing, and taking those steps into the unknown outside of that box that we'll call our comfort zone, we're setting ourselves free from that discomfort remaining within us. We're setting ourselves free from that fear. Like I did in a recent episode, the fear is the way. We have to lean into that fear if we want to release it. So the question isn't, do we want to live a life that's comfortable or uncomfortable? The question is, what kind of discomfort feels worse, right? The discomfort of staying where you are now, or the temporary discomfort of stepping into the unknown, of trying something new, of putting yourself out there in a new way, knowing that that discomfort in taking those steps is temporary, because on the other side of that is a life that we're truly stepping into that's more exciting and aligned and fulfilling. And again, I'm going to get to a lot of personal examples in a little bit here, but let's think about a life we won't regret. Let's fast forward to when we're 80 years old. Maybe you're already close to 80 years old. If so, I'm so grateful that you're listening to this podcast. There's so much evidence about regrets in life. And I actually did a whole episode on this, the top 15 deathbed regrets. What people regret the most at the end of their life isn't the things that they went for that didn't go their way, but it's the things that they never went for, the things that they never said, the discomfort that they felt too scared to lean into, the desires they really wanted but chose to stay in their comfort zone instead. If you ask me, when I think like that, when I think about my future self looking back, it immediately snaps me out of this discomfort that I'm feeling right now and makes me recognize no, I want to live a life where I'm constantly leaning into what scares me because I know that that is going to lead me to living this life fully. I don't want to rob myself of all these new and beautiful experiences just because it might feel a little bit uncomfortable for a second. And just because, there's things I need to learn and obstacles I need to navigate along the way. So by avoiding the thing that feels uncomfortable, we're not only keeping that discomfort within us, but we're also setting ourselves up for a lot of potential future regret. So think of that future version of you and ask what kind of discomfort they're okay having in their life right now. Also, let's talk about why this discomfort is actually a good thing. Because again, our brain has already flagged these things as dangerous just because they're associated with that uncertainty and just because it's outside of the realm of what we might currently know. or what we might currently think to be true. But what if I told you discomfort is actually a really good sign? And that if there's discomfort in your life right now, then that's a good thing. It's an opportunity. And here's why. If we feel discomfort, that means we are pushing ourselves towards our limits and past them. If it feels uncomfortable and scary, that means that we're actually challenging and taking steps to break down these blocks and limits that might have been keeping us stuck in that square, in that comfort zone. The truth is, growth really only happens in the discomfort, in the middle of it. When I was preparing for this episode, I was reminded how building muscles work. Building muscles happen in recovery. It doesn't happen when we're at the gym and in the middle of our workout, but it happens on the rest days. It happens on the other side of pushing ourselves in the gym. There's no growth and transformation in setting ourselves free that comes without this discomfort. So if this discomfort is here, and if the steps that you're taking do feel uncomfortable right now, it is a sign that you are pushing yourselves outside of the box. It is a sign that you are breaking free from these restraints and that you are growing. And not only is discomfort a good sign, but it's also a guidepost. I'm going to link the episode on why fear is our greatest teacher below, because I really dive into this in that one. But essentially, what we fear the most is showing us the exact limits and blocks that we're meant to break down, to step into the growth and transformation that we're really meant to. And the alternative, again, if we avoid that discomfort, if we avoid that scary thing, is to keep ourselves in this safe little box where we create this life where we try to control everything so that we never get triggered and we never have to lean into what feels uncomfortable. But again, that's keeping that discomfort within us. It's keeping us living a life that our brain is convincing us that we think is safe, but deep down we know it feels uncomfortable because we know that we're avoiding stepping into our power and stepping into our true potential in the life that we're meant to be living. Discomfort is here to guide us. I was reflecting the other night on what I really wanted in life, and I actually reframed the question. Instead of asking what I really want, which actually was the last episode, you can check that one out, 2-part series, I actually asked myself, what feels uncomfortable for me to step into right now? Like, what scares me a little bit? And those are my deeper desires. But sometimes they don't come up right away when we just ask ourselves what we want because it feels scary. And our mind is protecting us from these things that feel uncomfortable and that are outside of our comfort zone. And finally, clarity often comes from doing the uncomfortable. There's this beautiful quote in The Untethered Soul, one of my favorite books that I've spoken to a lot on here. We can't fully understand something's role in our life if we don't create space from it. Sometimes we can only understand why we do certain things once we stop doing them. Right? We can only understand why we're with a partner when we take space from them. Either we recognize that they are totally not for us and we feel so much better, or we recognize how much we love and miss them. Or like in an example I'm going to share in a minute here, we can't understand why we just turn to our morning coffee until we take a morning off of it. Like, do I really want that in that moment? Does it really make me feel good? Or is this just something that I've been accustomed to and that's just been a part of my routine that I've never really questioned? The clarity that we're looking for and what we truly want from life is on the other side of the thing that feels uncomfortable right now. And look, if this is all resonating with you right now, know that you are not alone. Maybe you feel that pull towards something more, but it feels really scary. Maybe you don't know where to start. That's exactly the work that I do in one-on-one life coaching. We get clear on what you really want, aka what might really scare you to step into. Uncover those fears and limits keeping you in these same cycles and keeping you feeling lost and stuck. And start building a life that truly feels aligned. Not one that just feels comfortable, but truly transform how you see your life and step into the version of you who lives this life fully. So if you're ready for that, you can check out the link in the show notes to book a one-on-one free clarity session with me. I would love to connect with you and paint this picture as to the change that you might be really ready to step into. I also have 2 free resources that you can check out first to help you start to embody that version right now and see how that feels. All right. Now that we've painted the picture as to why we need to lean into discomfort and started to transform our relationship with discomfort, I want to share some personal examples with you to really paint this picture, how I've leaned into discomfort in my own life, and in doing so, why it's changed my life in so many ways. And now I actually ask myself, what feels uncomfortable, and see that as the path to take. So this can be on a big scale or a small scale. On a big scale, starting this podcast, super scary to take that first step. It was something that I really wanted to do, but I was terrified what other people would think. If you listened to this show before, then you've definitely heard this story before. But essentially, those initial steps felt really, really scary and uncomfortable. But it's been one of the most beautiful things in my life and has helped me grow and transform in ways that I wouldn't change for the world. Quitting my job, moving from New York to Austin. Again, I know that's an example I come to a lot on here, but it felt extremely uncomfortable. Letting go of that certainty and safety net of the 9 to 5 that I had and betting on myself instead. Moving to a city where I didn't know if I would love it, where I really didn't know anyone. It felt uncomfortable in the moment. But on the other side of that discomfort, I feel like I'm living a life more aligned than I've ever been living. But if I didn't take those uncomfortable steps in leaving the job and in making the move, which did both feel really uncomfortable at first and freeing at the same time, then I wouldn't be living this life that I'm living now. And I wouldn't have grown in those ways that I was challenging myself to grow in taking those steps. And this can even be on a smaller scale. So in a recent new relationship that I'm in, there's been a couple moments where I've shown up vulnerably and brought up certain things that I've noticed within myself that I felt called to communicate with him. And it felt really uncomfortable in the moment because it takes a lot for me to be really emotional and vulnerable with another person. I try my best to do so on here, but in relationships, I can sometimes have a bit of a wall up. And it's because vulnerability is scary and it feels uncomfortable in the moment to show up because we don't know how the other person is going to reciprocate and how they're going to respond. We're worried that they might reject us for showing that weakness. But in having these conversations with him, he not only met me there, but it helped me feel closer to him on the other side. And I knew that by keeping those things within to myself, I was just going to continue to be in my head about it and feel that disconnect with him, AKA stay in that discomfort because I wasn't allowing myself to step into that vulnerability, which yes, felt uncomfortable in the moment. But on the other side, I released that questioning and overthinking that I was experiencing because I stepped outside of my comfort zone and had the vulnerable conversation. And the same goes for setting boundaries, right? Like maybe there's certain things that we really feel called to communicate with people we love, or maybe a coworker or whatever. I did an episode on setting healthy boundaries. And the thing is, it feels uncomfortable in the moment. But if we keep these things within and never communicate our needs to these other people, then we're keeping ourselves stuck in that misalignment, in the discomfort and stuckness that we're currently feeling. So again, the question becomes, do we want to lean into the temporary discomfort in this moment to have that conversation? Or do we want to keep it within ourselves and continue to grow that resentment and continue to feel that misalignment because we're scared to do the uncomfortable thing right now? You know, one of the things that makes a lot of this feel uncomfortable is, what are other people going to think, right? Like if I show this vulnerability to other people, can I trust that they're going to accept me and love me still? But we don't know how they're going to respond. And we don't know what's on the other side of that until we go for it. We have to trust that if they're meant for us, they're not only going to love and accept us, but might even meet us there, might even share things on their end. And again, deepen that connection. The same thing happened when I went on a walk with a new friend the other day. I was just very open about sharing a lot of my life with her. And again, she was a new friend. And part of me almost hesitated in moments. And I was like, do I go there? Like, it feels a little uncomfortable to just like be that open. But I did it anyways, because I just felt so in flow with this person. And I was like, I just see this person as someone I can trust. So even though it felt uncomfortable to share certain things, she immediately was like, I'm so grateful that you shared that. I feel the exact same way. And again, it deepened that connection. Another uncomfortable thing for me recently is stepping away from social media. I think a lot of us fear this, irrelevancy and falling behind and doing things different than how everyone else is doing it. It's our desire to fit in, and our ego wants that validation. So it felt uncomfortable to step away at first, especially because it was part of my life for a couple years and something I was just doing in my everyday routine. But I couldn't get clarity as to why I was continuing to be on there until I took this space away. And in taking that space away, I actually recognized, that really wasn't for me, right? Again, it's back to that point of we can only get clarity sometimes when we do the uncomfortable thing of either distancing from that thing or trying it a new way. Like same goes the other day, I just went without caffeine one morning. I'm like, I just want to prove to myself that I can here and start to question whether I actually need caffeine. And it turns out I didn't need it. It felt uncomfortable because part of me kind of wanted to go and pour the cup of coffee, but I actually felt a lot more calm throughout the day. And it made me just challenge the habit that I was in of just pouring my morning matcha or cup of coffee. I got clarity on that in leaning into the uncomfortable thing in the moment. Or even another one for me is like in the evenings, I was so accustomed to watching Netflix, and often I would go to bed a bit later or I'd have trouble falling asleep because of the screen time. And Netflix felt like a comfort zone, right? An easy way to just shut off the mind and focus on something else. But I realized it actually was making me feel more drained. And I started to challenge that when I desired that initial craving of Netflix. I would do the uncomfortable thing in that moment, which was to read instead and get to bed a little bit earlier. And in the long run, I was more grateful for it and got clarity that, watching Netflix in the evening actually isn't making me feel my best. And I don't think it's actually been a good way to rest. So even though I lean into it sometimes, I now actually ask what's going to serve me more in that moment, because I'm not so caught up in just like the cycle of my comfort zone. And I know that I can do things a different way. And then final discomfort that I know a lot of us can relate to is starting before we're ready. Maybe it's booking the trip. Maybe it's putting yourself out there on social media or starting the podcast or whatever. Maybe it is asking that person out. Maybe it is making the move, leaving the job. Like, we are never going to feel 100% ready. And it is going to feel uncomfortable. Just like all those things that I described. It felt uncomfortable in taking those initial steps. But on the other side of every single one, right? Leaving the job, making the move, going on these solo trips to Asia, I felt so empowered. And despite that initial discomfort, I proved to myself that I could take those steps even if it felt uncomfortable. And more importantly, in leaning into that thing that felt uncomfortable, I set myself free from thinking that I needed to stay in this box in my life where I needed to keep avoiding that discomfort. And in doing the thing that felt scary, aka the things that I really desired, my life feels so much more aligned. And a big part of that is I grew so much from leaning into discomfort in those ways. And because of that growth, I feel like I have this really refreshed and strengthened and opened perspective on life. A big new perspective is, again, seeing this discomfort as an opportunity, not something to avoid. It's added so much color and fulfillment to my life in a lot of ways. And that leads me to the challenge that I want to invite you to this week, the discomfort challenge. When something feels uncomfortable, that is your sign to lean in. And again, like I talk about in the fear episode, there's a couple different kinds of discomfort and fear here, right? We're not talking about the bad kind of fear, like doing things that truly risk your life, but the thing that you know is uncomfortable just because it's a new experience, just because there's uncertainty there. But you know that beneath that discomfort or on the other side of that is actually something you might really want. So if it's something big or small, maybe start small, right? That could be a beautiful way to start. It's like, okay, maybe going to this new coffee shop today, like there's a little bit of uncertainty and discomfort there, but I'm just going to step outside of my comfort zone in that new way. Or maybe it's something bigger, like finally buying that flight or setting that boundary at work, leaving that relationship, whatever feels uncomfortable this week. That is not a stop sign. It is not a sign for you to just go back to what feels comfortable and to just stay hoping that it'll feel better. But this discomfort is a sign to lean in. This discomfort is guiding you. This discomfort is an opportunity for you to release this fear and discomfort that might have been holding you back and keeping you feeling stuck and lost for a while. So you can ask yourself, what discomfort am I avoiding right now? And how can I lean into what's uncomfortable in this moment? And this isn't to scare you. This isn't to say to live your life from this fear and live a life that feels uncomfortable, but let this empower and excite you that you are so capable of leaning into these new things. You are so capable of taking these steps, even if it feels messy and uncomfortable and scary at times. Remember that a fulfilling life and a comfortable life are not the same thing. And so you have a choice here. Which kind of discomfort are you okay having in your life? The discomfort and unease of staying where you are now in this comfort zone, knowing that you're holding yourself back from stepping into the life that you want and being the person that you know deep down you feel called to be, or the temporary discomfort of taking those steps, of leaning into what you truly want. And remind yourself of all the beauty that's just on the other side of this temporary discomfort. and all the growth and transformation and amazing life experiences that are waiting for you, even if it feels uncomfortable. Whatever feels scary and uncomfortable to you this week, this is your invitation and challenge to lean into that. So if you would initially go to what feels comfortable, do the opposite. And I would love to hear how it goes for you, and send this episode and challenge to someone who also might need to hear it. I hope you all feel inspired to lean into what scares you this week. If you love today's episode, don't forget to press follow or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. And if you haven't already, leave a rating, review, and comment on the show. And before I leave you today, there is something that I'm very excited to share with you. I'm hosting my very first retreat in Costa Rica at the end of January in 2027. It's a week for you to truly step out of the busyness and chaos of your current life and really get clarity and connect with yourself, as well as with other beautiful, like-minded individuals, while soaking up the beaches and the rainforest, practicing yoga, meditation, life coaching workshops, and nourishing your body with healthy, delicious food. If you're looking for more clarity, more peace, more connectedness and alignment with yourself, this is for you. There's only 12 spots left and signups are already open now. So check out the link in the show notes to learn more and save your spot today. I would love to share this experience with you. All right, see y'all soon.